Okay, this is an early rendition of one of the projects, but the issue that I want to show is the issue of openings in a wall. So you don't draw walls that are discontinuous because on the floor plan it shows a door opening. The walls should be continuous, and then you put doors and openings into the walls. So if I just extend this wall, I'm going to get a message that says I've got walls inside walls, which is correct. And then I'm going to delete the walls that I don't need. I'm using the tab key to find them and then taking them out. So I've got one continuous wall with the door. If I go back to my section, it now shows correct as that the door is inside the wall. Then where there are, I don't know if it's cupboard space or what it was, but I'm just going to extend this single wall back up, and there's either an opening or a door or something at that location as well. On the floor plan, it's showing that there's cupboard space. So here you could either use the wall opening, you pick the wall, you select where you want the opening to be. You can do that on the elevation of the wall, you can do it in the floor plan. And this gives you draggable points that you can set to what the width of the opening is. So this is a separate object called a wall opening that you can delete, and then it would restore the wall the way that it was. If I look at it there, I can see that I've got my cupboard space and I've got that piece of the wall showing in the distance. Another way of doing this, if I delete that opening, would be to actually use a door opening. So when you say door and load family, under the door folder there is a family called door openings, and it comes in pre-configurable sizes. So this is not going to give me grips that I can place. I could place my door and it's a certain size, 36 by 84. I could duplicate it though, make it whatever, give it a new name, whatever size I actually want it to be. I'm going to say 48, that's a bit small in this case, but it's just to show you that you can name it and then give it the rough width. Now the reason you'd use this one is if you want it to appear in a schedule. So a door opening would appear in a schedule, whereas a wall opening will not. But really it's just another way of cutting the opening in the door. If I go back, so if I undo to go back to where I had the wall opening, that was the one that was managed with grips. If I look at the an elevation of that wall, you see that it's actually got a height for the opening itself. That was what was apparently missing. If I go to an internal elevation, face it towards that wall, place it. The internal elevation, the marker has a line associated with the direction of the elevation, and I'm just going to adjust that so I'm just looking at that area of my building. If I click on the section head, it'll take me to the view, and what I was showing there is if I pick that opening, it's actually got the top of the opening set at a certain height, and I can drag it down or set a value on the browser for what the properties palette for what size that opening should be. So I don't know exactly what's in that project, whether it's really meant as a cupboard space, there might be doors in there, or there might be a door opening in there, or there might be a wall opening in there, but they all behave slightly differently, and it gives a good idea of what your options are. The other thing is if you've got open spaces, I'm just using this as an example, but you've got open spaces, when you put in a room, you would see that the diagonals of the room object just kind of spill out because there's nothing to stop them unless you're in an enclosed area. But it shouldn't stop you from being able to designate areas as activities. You should be able to use room separation lines as ways of dividing it up. So if I turn on the color, just so that you can see, that room thinks at the moment that it extends all the way through the building. But if I put in a room separation line and another one at the top here, then that acts as a boundary for the activity. So think of rooms as being a way of being able to quickly measure areas for any kind of designated space, and the space can be designated by room separators in addition to any wall objects or other room bounding objects. Okay, so I think that was kind of two things that I took away from that exercise were the options that exist for creating openings in a wall and options that exist for designating activities within a building using the room object to measure square footage and room separation lines to help define different activities in a building. So for example, sleeping and dressing. And I'll leave it at that. That's just cleaning up the project a little bit.